So I got sober, and now the question is, do I need to go tell someone all my deep, dark secrets? Do I have to confess every single little thing that I've ever done from the time I even remember to another person in order to stay sober? That's a question we're going to answer today, because today we are talking about AA step number 5. Now, as you guys know, we have kind of mixed opinions on AA. Not mixed opinions, but different approaches. Terry does do a little bit more of the AA than I do, and we want to give you a balanced approach to what we think needs to happen, because I think there's a difference in opinion whether we need to go all out and tell everyone our deep secrets, or whether we need to just kind of keep some stuff to ourselves, and what really does this have to do with sobriety? I remember when I first got sober, I was like, okay, to quit drinking, I literally just need to stop drinking. What does that have to do with secrets? What does that have to do with, like, confession? Right? Are we in the Catholic Church? What's going on? Do we need to go in a little box and talk to a priest, and all of our alcohol problems are going to go away? What gives? So that is the topic we're talking about today. If you have questions and comments, put them in the box. And Terry, how are you doing today? All right, good. Now, what are your thoughts on AA Step 5, the one where we go through and divulge? Hold on a second, Terry. I think we got audio problems with you.
Oh,
Try it now.
can you hear me now?
All right, so what we're going to ask you to do is repeat that again. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Terry was just divulging all his secrets, so the
Yeah,
muted
that's
part,
it.
you're never going to get that
They're all
back.
done. No, I think for people that go all the way into AA and they do everything that's suggested to them, and that they do all of the steps, not just the ones that they feel like doing, and they work with somebody else, and they get themselves, say, in the middle of the herd. They tend to stay sober, not all the time. Absolutely not. This is a disease that nobody's found the complete answer to. But I know a lot of people that have done the steps, and I know a lot of people that live good and happy lives. I've done the steps, and I'm reasonably happy and sober. But yeah, I think step 5 is just one of those steps. It's an important one, and
Yeah.
it can be effective.
Absolutely. And I remember in rehab, I went to a rehab that was very 12-step based. They call it basically like a $10,000 AA book study. And it was very based on AA. And I remember at that point, I would have done anything to get sober. Like if they were like, you need to, watch My Little Pony and stand on your head, I would have done it, because nothing I knew was working. And we got to step 4, and we were talking about step 4 and everything like that. And I had like literally made a list of everything I had ever done, everything I thought, and I shared it with my counselor in AA, and he was like, "Whoa, hold your cool, little buddy. That's good and all, but I think you're going a little overboard. Let's just focus on sobriety right now." And I remember the feeling of like, okay, this is going to get off my chest. This is something that's important, and I think that the magic happens when we admit to ourselves and to other people and realize that most of our stuff isn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
I know there's some things that us alcoholics do that, they destroy lives, and we can't get that back. I think for the majority of us, it's things that have hurt people. Yes. We've been assholic. Yes. We've been the way we were. Yes. But we look at it and we're like, okay, those things are done under the influence. Even the terrible stuff that's done under the influence is still done under the influence. It's not an excuse. It doesn't make it right or okay. It just gives us insight into, Marcus and Terry wouldn't have done these things if they weren't drinking. Just like if you were to starve someone, you say, hey, I'm an upstanding member of the church and I don't do anything bad. Yeah, we'll starve you and you'll probably steal food. I mean, you're going to get down to it, and it's going to be like, okay, steal food or die. I think I'll steal food. That's what's going to happen because your chemical makeup is going to change. And with alcoholism, our chemical makeup changes. And also, what I notice that a lot of alcoholics have is the ability to buy their own bullshit. Right? We buy our own stories as if it's like the gospel truth. We buy our own junk, like, oh, I did this and it's so bad and I'll never get over this. And we carry these stories around like they are just weights, and they're weights that we voluntarily carry around. We wake up in the morning and we're like, I'm going to take these stories with me because this is my life. And when we tell it to other people, we realize, hey, they did that. They felt that way. They thought that way. And what happens is when we live in a world isolated in our own thoughts, which is what it is. If you're not telling other people stuff, you're isolated in a world of your own thoughts. And when we do that, we live in a world of make-believe, a world of words, a world of all this stuff that we think is reality that's not. And when I go to someone like Terry and I'm like, dude, the other day I was thinking this terrible thing. And he's like, well, that's a chemical impulse in the brain, Marcus. Just stay sober, buddy. Like, don't worry about it. It's just a thought. That kind of helps. And I remember, I tell it all the time here, but one of the big things for me in AA was the ability to tell my story and get no feedback. Just get the thanks for sharing, next. And then it was like, wow, that's over. Like this thing I was holding on to my entire life that I thought I'd be ostracized from the globe for thinking, okay, next. And I sit down and listen to the next guy and I'm like, wait a minute, what gives? What do I have to do here? Right? So what are your thoughts on that, Terry? What was it like for you in the beginning when it was like, do I really want to tell people this stuff? I mean, what's going on?
Well, first of all, I got to step 4 is before step 5, obviously, and it's an integral part of step 5. But when I got to that step, it was like, what does this have to do with sobriety? Why do I have to take a personal inventory, especially all of the negative stuff? Why do I have to look at that? What does that matter? How is that going to keep me sober? Well, and then I learned that, you need to take this inventory. You need to figure out, or I need to figure out my faults and figure out the issues that I have, the things that I tend to do and my actions that take up space in my mind. A lot of the step 4 is going over your resentments against people. So there was a person I had a resentment against. It was a huge resentment. It was justified. This person was in the wrong. So why did I have to deal with that? Well, because this resentment was taking up space in my mind. I was just angry, and I continue to be angry. And that anger, I want to get rid of that anger, and maybe a drink might be the answer to that. And that's why I had to deal with this resentment and take care of it. And admitting to another person this resentment, that allowed me to really dig deeper into it and realize that I had a part in this resentment. Even though this person was mostly at fault, I did have a part, even if it was that I was just there, but I had a bigger part because of my drinking. And it was really that simple, because of my drinking. And, working through this, I was able to see that. And then that resentment was able to go down a little bit. Really, a lot of what got rid of that resentment was just time and sobriety, but also looking at where I was at fault. And when I've looked at all of my resentments and gone through them slowly and thoroughly, I've realized that I have a part in every one of these resentments. And that, am I completely at fault? No, not a lot of them. Some of them, yes, absolutely. But I had to see that. And that way I could figure out what my defects of character, what kind of actions that I tend to take just going through life that tends to cause these things to happen to me, or that I cause these things to happen. And that's kind of the way that helped me a lot. There was a little bit of freedom after that step 5, being able to talk to another person, and I didn't talk to the same person about everything. But that person was able to give me an objective opinion So talking to this other person wasn't necessarily a person super close to me. It was somebody that could have an objective opinion, and that helped a lot. They could tell their experience that they've had with things that might have been similar, and that helps. And that just helped on my road to sobriety and allowing me to live life in a more sober and serene way, just being happy with where I'm at. These first few steps really work on yourself, so making you okay with yourself. After step 5, it's working to, well, step 6 is a little bit more about yourself, but the next few steps are a little bit more about making you okay with other people. So there is logic behind these, and for me, it was pretty effective.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of the key is to realize that what happens is, as alcoholics and normal people living through life, we live ego based, right? We're living based on what's happening to me, what's going on with me, how did this person affect me, what did they do to me? And we're not really looking at it from a more distant view. And when we look at it from a distant view, we could say, okay, well, there's some things that I did. And a lot of times in sobriety, what happens is, you get sober and you start feeling good and you're like, I'm going to go apologize to everyone. And you go out there with your self-righteous cap and your cross on your arm and you're like, let's go apologize to these people because that's a good thing to do. And I'm being a good little sober boy here, or gal, as it were. And you go out there expecting a certain reaction, whether it's, oh my God, thank you, it's so great that you came to me. And you're kind of doing this stuff for the ego motive or the selfish motive instead of the other way around. And it's kind of like how we view forgiveness. Forgiveness is a topic in our culture that is so wildly misunderstood, it's not even funny. When someone does something to you and you forgive them, a lot of times we look at forgiveness as if that's for the other person. Like, okay, Terry did something, I'm going to forgive him for his sake because he needs to be forgiven by me because he wronged me. And that's not exactly what forgiveness is about. Forgiveness is about being able to let it go in and of myself and understand the other person's side. Now, it doesn't make it right? If someone does something terrible to me and I forgive them, which people have, and I have forgiven them, it doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean I'm going to let that person back into my life in a capacity where they could do it again, right? It's like the old saying, if you got someone who abuses children, you're not going to hire him for Sunday school class, right? You're not going to do that. That guy can go, do something else, but we're not going to forgive and completely forget because we don't know what's going to happen, right? And so we look at that and we look at forgiveness in terms of letting go of the baggage and the damage that it's causing us. Because the less I forgive someone else for what they've done to me, the more I'm harboring resentment and hate and animosity towards that person, which is only affecting me, right? Like right now, there's people that wronged me that they don't even remember they wronged me or they don't even think it's that bad. And it's like, okay, I can hold on to that and that's going to send me to the bar. Or I could choose to forgive, not necessarily like, oh, hey, that's okay, but just forgive and say, hey, you know what? This person did that with their knowledge and their understanding of life as they know it, and that's what they did. And that's all there is to it. We don't look at whys or hows or whatever. It just is what it is, and we start to move on. And I think when it comes to the secrets and the things that we hold, I think the key is in realizing that we're really not that big a deal. Right, there's 8 billion people on this planet. They all got their baggage. They all got their thoughts. A lot of them are thinking the same crap you are, right? It's like you're not really that special, right? We all think the same kind of things. We're all hardwired a certain kind of way. A lot of us even have the same language and think in the same patterns, right? So we have to look at the fact that, okay, up until this point, we were programmed to be a certain way and feel a certain way and do a certain thing. And I think when we look at the inventory, we're looking at that and saying, okay, where am I at right now with my current pre-indoctrination of life and how I responded to it? Okay, good. Where am I at? Now, here's where we're at. Where do we want to go from here? What do I want to do? Do I want to carry that with me anymore? Right? And I think that that's why it's so powerful, whether you do it in an AA step, whether you do it through therapy or on your own, I think it's powerful to really get to those, because what happens is when we harbor this, we think that, something's wrong with us. And I remember I told therapist after therapist, there is something wrong with me. And they all looked at me and they're like, there's nothing wrong with you. There was. I was an alcoholic. But other than that, there wasn't really a whole lot wrong with me. I was just a normal person going through life with crazy thoughts and all this stuff. It's just what happens. And so once I was able to get over that and say, hey, look, other people feel this way. I'm not alone. That's really freeing.
Yeah, and you know what you're touching on is whatever sobriety program that you're going to follow. For me, whatever the sobriety program I'm following is I'm just trying to live a happier life. Yes, I don't want to drink because I realize that's the main key for me to live a happier life. But it's not just not drinking; it's having a new life, and that's what I had to develop. And for me, working the steps was the way I accomplished it, and accomplish it. But it really doesn't matter what direction you're going to go, as long as you make sure you look for something that is going to help you live your day-to-day life happier. And step 5, it's just one little part of it. A lot of people are very afraid when they go through the steps, and they're really trying to do their best to do it. And a lot of them are very afraid of that, admitting all this stuff. And you don't have to do it perfectly. It's okay. You can go back. The only thing in all the steps or any sobriety program you follow is not drinking. That's the thing you have to do perfectly. The rest, we try to strive to be better, and that's really all you need to do. And so, there's a couple comments here that were good. And, Scott said it becomes more than just not drinking, way more. And, that's kind of what I just tried to say, at least. Benjamin says a step where you apologize to others about past actions was surprisingly liberating. I didn't want to do it and had to wait until I got sober. And yeah, you had to do it in order, and you had to take your time to do it. And for a lot of people, it is super liberating. It was a little bit liberating for me. I was more liberated when I got past step 9 and made those apologies and stuff, and that helped me a lot. And I felt really liberated because, then I could walk around and not be so embarrassed if I saw one of those people, because I'd already talked to them. Not going through the supermarket and seeing the person at the other end of the aisle turning around and going the other way. I'm sure many of you have dealt with that before, and that's what a lot of these do, is they allow us to have a little bit of self-respect, and that we can increase that as we just continue on through life and living a better life. Our actions can help us when we're doing positive actions all the time.
Absolutely.
Buck says, make peace with the past so it doesn't affect your future. I tried to do this last week with an old friend, but he didn't accept it, and that hurt. And I've done that too, where some of those apologies and they didn't pan out. The person didn't accept it. But the key was for me is with these apologies is that I cleaned up my side of the street. I apologized for my part. I didn't accuse them or anything, or even bring up their part in this situation. I just apologized for my part and tried to explain why. They may not have accepted it, and that's okay. At least I've done my part, and the ball's in their court. And I can walk around, like I said, with my head held high. It's all right. I am what I am. What I did is what I did. There's nothing I can do to change it now. But I can move forward in a good way.
Absolutely. And if you guys are looking for some tools to help you understand a lot of this stuff and kind of see what's going on, I think, I don't know, Terry would probably agree with me, but my mind's a little out of whack, right? I think, the way that I think about things is a little off kilter from other people. But I think it actually serves a purpose, because it shows you, hey, look, this is how it is for me, and this is how you can fit in or how it works for you. And I think it really helps. And that's what we've done over in our program over at talksober.com. What I've done is I've written 31 letters as if I was writing to an alcoholic to help you guys get and stay sober. Again, we're not doctors or trained specialists. This is just what we've found that's helped us stay sober for about 7 years each, and what really worked for us. And so in those 31 letters, I tell you what it's like. It's like my confessional to you guys, if you want the juicy details of the way that I think and stuff that I've gone through in my life when I was drinking and when I wasn't drinking. What we've done is we've put them into lessons to help you understand this and give you like an aha moment. So if you watch this channel and you get an aha moment, or you find yourself going throughout your day and you're like, oh, hey, that's like something Marcus said, or that's like what Terry said. This is designed to do that like times 1,000. And it's designed to go through in a day 1 to day 31 setup. And what you do is you go through each one every day. You read the letter. You watch a video Terry made on the letter. There's a little worksheet you can fill out, and there's a little guide to show your progress and everything. And you can go through it and start to have those aha moments that we had that really help us get sober. Like, this is the fundamentals of why I'm sober today. Like, if I could take why I'm sober today, what I did, how it worked, what I think, what I used to get myself out of a jam, what I used to stop myself from relapse, all that stuff is put into here where you go through and you're like, okay, day 1 letter. And it's very systematic, and I think it's very helpful. If you do want to get that and support the work that we're doing on this channel, just go over to talksober.com, this big yellow button with the little ambulance here. Click it right like that. It'll take you to the page to sign up. Hopefully it'll load a little faster for you guys. You put your name, last name, email, all this information here, and then you'll get an instant login where you can get access to that stuff.
Right on. Roxana says, I love the steps. It's hard if you got a challenging inventory, but so worth it. I'm 33 months now and finally learned to live life on life's terms. Great to see you. Still going, Marcus and Terry. Congratulations on 33 months. That's awesome.
Good to have you here.
And it sounds like what you're doing is working. So good job.
All right. So any questions about the divulging or the step 4, anything we can help you understand with that, let us know in the comment box or in the comments below. Make sure you smash the like button so this video goes out on the old YouTube and reaches other alcoholics. And yeah, I think the main thing to look at is it's not something to be legalistic about. Like, if you write your stuff and you're like, oh, hey, I missed one, don't worry about it. You know, just go through, do the best you can. And I think what it does is it starts to make us more self-aware of other people that are not us, which as alcoholics, I don't know about you, but I was completely self-absorbed. All I cared about was me, you know, and on the outside, you would probably think I wasn't that bad. I was a pretty decent family guy, you know, did my stuff. It wasn't like it could have been. But even still, I realize now that I'm sober and my mind is different that, you know, it really focused on other stuff, things outside of me.
Right on. Scott said if I stay sober, it did pan out. Selfish program. You know, this is a selfish program. Absolutely. You know, when I hear my buddies that have like 30, 40 years of sobriety, and they talk about how much they think about themselves. They're like, yep, this program's allowed me to only think about myself like 97% of the time now, instead of 100% of the time. And yeah, that's life. We're worried about ourselves, worried about our ego. Although, you know, a sobriety program for me, one of the pillars of it is trying to help other people. That would be, this channel is one of the ways I try. Just try to give my own perspective on things. And but why am I doing it? Because I know that I need to try to help other people to stay sober. It helps me feel good about myself. It gives me some self-worth. And yeah, it's selfish. Sure.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it is understanding that we're like that. You know, because I went through life and I was like, what do you think? You know, I remember someone called me a narcissist when I was drinking, and I flew off the handle. I was so mad that they called me a narcissist. I'm like, I am not a narcissist, blah, 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 blah. And, I realize now it's like, yeah, probably am narcissistic at times or all the time or whatever. You know, what are you going to do about it? I try my best to do what I can. I realize that, some of my motives, while I think they are pure and great, they are self serving. And that's just how we are. Now, you could take that one of two ways. You could be like, I'm self serving. I'm going to go be the next big, Wolf of Wall Street and rip people off. Or I'm going to be this or I'm going to be that. Or you could just say, hey, this is how we are. I'm going to try each day to be a little bit better. I'm going to try each day to care about someone else or do something for someone or whatever it is and really focus on, hey, this isn't my life. Like I wasn't put on this globe as the first person and you guys were all put here for me. We were all put here together. We're all trying to do this. As Ram Dass used to say, we're all walking each other home. That's what we're doing. We're walking each other home. We're learning. We're experiencing. And when we understand that, it really helps us to accept that we're human. And I think when you look at step one, realize that we're powerless and then realize there's a God or whatever, higher power. I think the key is okay, you don't have to accept a higher power. You don't have to, go find Jesus or something unless that's your bag. That's cool, But you do need to realize that it's not all about you. Like I had to realize that I'm not the higher power, right? I had to realize that I'm not in control. I'm not the be all end all. Right. And I think, sometimes our culture teaches us this wrong with the idea of, hey, you get a prize for everything, which is good, whatever. Kids like prizes. But sometimes it's like, okay, we get into the world, and I watch it happen now that I have teenage daughters that are graduating and getting into the world. And, they go into the world and they're like, hey, man, I'm special or whatever. Or like the kid who plays football in high school, he gets out in college and it's like, wow. Like, these people are the size of a mountain where I used to be able to tackle someone like, I can't even get this guy's ankles. And they go there and it's like, what gives? But all his life he was trained, you're the best, you're the best, you're the best. No one can beat you, you're the best. And you go out in the world, I'm the best, I'm the best, I'm the best. And eventually you'll either go through life and live that way, or you'll be like me where it's like, I'm the best, I got to do the best. And you're not living up to your own standards. And all of a sudden, everything crashes and you have an identity crisis where it's like, hey, I'm not what I thought I was. And I think admitting to other people and ourselves, hey, I'm not who I thought I was. I can forgive myself, I can understand what's going on, but I'm not who I thought I was, which is kind of important. One Mama Lisa says, having trouble dealing with stress lately. For me, my best stress relief comes in realizing that whatever the stress is about usually isn't like the be all end all. Like usually what we do is we go to the end worst scenario. I lost my job. All of a sudden I see me and my kids on the side of the road begging for money in my mind. That's what I see, right? Is that going to happen? 99 times out of 100, probably not. Okay. If I wallow in it, yeah, it probably will happen. But if I say, hey, this is what we got to deal with, right? Instead of saying I'm stressed out, say, this is what we got to deal with. Here's the cards we have. How are we going to play these cards? And enjoy the journey. Because a lot of stress is just societal stress. You need to be this way. You need to think this way. You need to have this much money. You need to drive this kind of car. You need to have this TV. You need to do this, do this, do this. And it's really just indoctrination so we can buy more shit. It's really all it is, right? And if we get down to the basics, we learn that we can live on a lot of the things that we thought we couldn't live without, right? When I first got in sobriety, I had to take a massive change of lifestyle. Like overnight, boom, out of rehab, massive lifestyle change. And it was difficult, but I realized it's not the end of the world. I'm still here. We're still going to be okay.
Yeah, it's important for me is just being okay. Mm-hmm. Robin, I hear you. You said I was abused as a child and hold resentments to the ones who abused me. Please tell me what my part in it is in this. You really have no part in that other than the fact that you were there, and that's not any of your fault or anything. Nobody deserves to be abused or anything like that. A person close to me was abused for many, many years. They worked on forgiveness and moving on, but not forgetting, definitely not forgetting, not justifying the actions that this individual took on them. And they just tried to live life better. I mean, I wish I had an easier answer for that. Maybe Marcus can give a little bit more insight, but yeah, absolutely. Some of these things that for the people we have resentments against, we really had very, very little part in it, except for the fact that we were involved. As far as we were there, we were the victim, and that's a hard thing to move on from. Absolutely.
And I think for me, I dealt with abuse as well. Probably not as bad as some people had it, but it was still there. And it was really difficult for me because I had the why me. Why did this happen to me? So the first part was understanding that ego, right? Now, I'm going to say this delicately because I'm not saying ego like, oh my God, you're, doing this certain thing or acting this. Not at all. What I'm saying is the ego in saying that, oh, why did this happen to me when this is happening to lots of people? And this goes back to what we're talking about in the beginning, where you admit stuff to other people. They say, I feel or thought the same way. You have a kumbaya moment, and all of a sudden you start to feel better. Same thing happens with abuse, right? There are millions of people, sadly, that will be abused tonight, today, probably right now while we're on this call. It's happening. The problem I had was saying, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did that person choose to do this to me? And what I did is I had to say, you know what? That person's a dick, and they would have done it to anyone. Swap it out. Little Marcus, Bob, Frank, Sally, put someone in there, it's going to happen because that's their problem. That's their problem, not my problem. Now, I got a problem because of it, because of the way it molded and shaped my brain, but luckily sobriety has given me a way out of it. And so once we understand and isolate and separate, okay, my part in it was just that I was there. Now, I can look at it, and I know there are some therapists and psychologists that are like, look at your part and look at your responsibility. Okay, I was 8 to 16. I was kind of mouthy sometimes, right? So, maybe some way there was a part, but it did not warrant what happened to me. Okay, so we got to isolate it. It's not your fault. It would have happened to anyone in that circumstance. That's the way the cookie crumbles. That's the cards we were dealt. We got some cards. Some people got cards where they live in mansions on boats and, pet cats. That's just what they had, right? Who's to say who gets what? Whatever cards were dealt, this is the body, this is the life I was put into, this is what I have to deal with. So we look at that and we isolate it and say, okay, not about me. It's about them. They're the dick, not me. They're the jerk, not me. Whatever was done would have been done to anyone. Okay? The next part is to look at it and accept this was part of my life. This is part of it. This is what happened. It's not good. Some of it's bad, but it is what it is. And then we realize the more I carry this around throughout my life, the more power I'm giving inadvertently to the negative or the bad or even that person, right? So I'm giving more power to this negative by holding on to it. Now, with that said, there's a lot of people in life that are going to say, well, you got this abuse that was 30 years ago. You need to get over it. I think those people are full of shit. I don't think you ever get over something. What you do is you move through it. You move through it as part of your life. This is what happened. I can be okay. It was not about me. This is what happened. Here I am. What next? What am I going to do next? And make it a practice like I did, if you so desire, to grieve for others that had the same thing. When you say, oh my God, this happened to me, I can't, God damn, that guy, think about the other people and say, okay, you know what? We are grieving. As humanity, we grieve the sadness that happens on the people that get it. Not just mine, because what we do is we try to own everything, and we're like, this is mine, and this is my story, and it becomes your identity. And that's dangerous, because now my identity is wrapped up in something someone else did that I had no control over, and that's my identity? Pardon my frankness, but fuck that, right? I'm not going to be identified by what someone else did to me. And when we do that, I think we're able to move through it and say, you know what, there's a lot of people who have gone through things. Doesn't lessen what I went through. Doesn't lessen what they went through. But we're all in this together, and we're all here to help each other out. And I don't want to put another drink on this, because that never helps. Drinking is just, I mean, I know, like, part of the reason I don't drink today is because I know I'll drink and I will wallow in that stuff. It was like clockwork. I would get a big tall boy, right? Like a 9% tall boy beer. I'd get like 5 of them. I'd turn on country music, which, even if you don't like country, it's going to make you sad. Like, that's what it's made to make you sad. They're like, you know, my dog's out back and my wife done left and the guy down the street kicked me in the knee. And, you know, you just wallow about things, and I'd call my family and everything like that. But we realized, you know what, I don't need to feel this way anymore. This doesn't need to own me. And I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it. That's actually, I think I gave you like 50 cents. I went a little long there. But
That was good, Marcus. Thank you so much. You have a very good explanation. Megan says, I'm letting my fears and worries take over me lately. Haven't been to meetings, not working. I'm going crazy. At least I still see a therapist weekly, but I don't handle fear well. Used to use alcohol too. And you said later that, and I've been sober 1 year and 9 months, but all of a sudden my life is feeling unmanageable again, probably not from working and doing nothing all day. Yeah, you know, I haven't worked either for quite a while. And I hear you, but what I try to do is I try to stay busy. As far as meetings go, and, you know, just support, well, we have this every week. So we have our little YouTube show every week, and then you can Google alcohol recovery meetings, and they're going to come up all over the place. You can do them on Zoom. You can call into them. They're very easy to do online if your area is not doing anything in person. So that's one way that you could stay busy. But other things, what did you used to do before you got sober for entertainment? You know, other than drinking, was there anything else? Think about that. If not, try and come up with something that you want to try. For me, I hike, I bicycle, I do other things, work on the house, things like that. Spend too much time on social media. No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm just kidding. But, you know, try to avoid that stuff. Try to avoid the news so much. But try to do things that are going to help yourself and make you feel better. And that's what I've tried to do. I hear you about the fear. You know, my dad went into the hospital this last weekend and not being able to breathe. And he went in and he started to have heart problems as well. And he tested positive for COVID. He's 83 and has somewhat severe dementia, and it wasn't looking good. And talk about fear, talk about anxiety and stress. Jeez, that hit home this weekend for me. And, you know, there's nothing I can do. He lives 900 miles away. They're not going to let me go into a hospital. My brother's 5 minutes from him, so he's able to update me and things like that. But there's nothing I can do. So what do? I prayed, that's for sure. But, you know, that's it. And then I just try to get the updates. I try not to stress over it. I try to stay busy and make sure I got my phone on me at all times and hope for the best. And, you know, he's getting better now. But it's still, you know, we all know from the news and all that this stuff can come back at you. So, you know, there's nothing I can do. What I can do is stay sober and continue to live the life that I'm trying to live and be a good person and be there for my brother and help support him, talk to him on the phone. That's what I can do.
Absolutely. So I think also, Megan, you're missing a key point. You've been sober for almost 2 years. Like, that's pretty badass.
Yeah.
You've been sober a long time, so whatever you've been doing has been working. And I think it's probably time to take a little inventory. Hey, what's going on? What have I been doing? Okay, I've been bored all day, not working. You know, mind's idle. They always say, what is it? The idle mind is the devil's playground, or some crap they used to teach us in Sunday school. But yeah, an idle mind is going to find something to do because it's a computer. It's got to compute stuff, right? So if you're not giving it something, it's going to go back and find some stuff from a long time ago to compute. And I think the key is to look at the fact that, is your life unmanageable? Well, you're managing. When I drank, I wasn't managing. I mean, somewhat, not really. But you are managing. Like, things are okay, going to be all right. Also, one of the things I started doing recently, I love to read, and sometimes I go through phases where I forget, and I'm like, oh, yeah, there's some books over here. So I spent a little bit too much money on books and got a bunch of books and started reading things, and found enjoyment in that. Another thing you can do is give yourself busy tasks. Go through videos, take notes on sobriety videos, share them with people. There's a lot of stuff you can do. If it's job stuff, you can always find something to do. There's something out there, busy work or whatever, whether it's volunteer, whether it makes money or not, there's something to do. But don't be down on yourself for feeling the way you feel. Like, it's going to happen. Like, we look at it and we're like, oh, this feeling's bad. It's good. No, it's not. It's just a feeling. It is what it is. Like, if I drank a sugar right now, I'd feel like crap. And I can get down on myself and be like, God, man, why can't I do this video I need to do or do this or whatever? Well, it's because you had sugar, genius. And we realize that a lot of our stuff is just feeling. Like, if you sit inside for a year, as a lot of us have found out, it has some effects on you. If you watch the news too much, as a lot of us have found out, it has an effect on you. So congratulations for being human. Congratulations for a year and 9 months sober. That's a big deal. And, really just look at what's ahead. What am I going to do now? Okay, I know what I did. I'm kind of off skew. And it's like the airplane story. If you get on an airplane from San Francisco to Florida, you go, and it looks like it's going straight. Airplanes never go straight. They're constantly going and correcting, automatically, going and correcting. But in our life, we're like, it's got to be straight. I need to go right over that rainbow to the pot of gold. And that's how life is. And if I don't go down there on that purple line of the rainbow, then, everything's off. No, life is off. You got corrections. You got things. You learn stuff. You say, oh, that didn't work. I feel this way. This doesn't work. I feel that way. This doesn't work. But the goal is sobriety and calmness. And if you're staying pretty straight on it, that's fine. If you drink, you're going to go way out in left field, and that we all know where that gets us. But flex your sobriety muscles. You got a year and 9 months. Go with it. You're doing something right. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, year 9 months. That's incredible. Good job. Bryce says, my girlfriend broke up with me a month ago, and it was devastating. I drank all but 7 days in January. I'm going to try for a month and try to lose weight because I'm one sandwich away from fat. I hear you, man. But, if alcohol is truly a problem for you, like, is it causing negative consequences? Are you continuing to drink? You might want to just focus on alcohol. That's what I was told. And that's what I concentrated on when I first got sober, is dealing with the alcohol. Now, if the fatness or the not eating properly is medically hurting you, then yeah, you should be listening to a doctor. Absolutely. Do what a doctor's going to tell you to do. It sounds like you need to go have a visit anyways, but either way, for me, I had to concentrate on alcohol. Yeah, I was quite a bit heavier than I am now when I stopped drinking, but I had to concentrate on alcohol. That was a big enough task for me. I concentrated on that and nothing else. That's what was able to get me on that road to sobriety. And then slowly, as I started to figure out my sobriety and what I could and couldn't handle, I was able to start to deal with other things. But slowly, like exercise, not eating so much bad stuff, things like that, working on my mind, and working on those resentments against people. So that's what I tried to do.
Yeah. And, sometimes baby steps are good. Like, hey, I'm just going to do one thing a day, and just, focus on it, make it work, and go from there.
Right.
But yeah.
Hey, why don't you guys let us know how much sobriety you have?
Yep. And while they do, I'll do our sophisticated commercial again. You know, this is prime time stuff, like, you know, Super Bowl ad costs here, right? If you guys want to learn to get and stay sober, hop over to talksober.com, click the big yellow button. It'll take you to this page to sign up. You're going to get 31 custom written letters from your old buddy Marcus here about how to stay sober. This was actually written over the course of about 5 years, and it goes through a lot of the stuff that I deal with, a lot of the mindsets, a lot of the things I do. And Terry's gone through and made videos on them, worksheets on them, and it's like a whole course, right? So you get in there and you're like, I need to stay sober. Again, we're not doctors or trained people. This is not meant to diagnose, treat, or be any doctor-like type stuff. So, you know, you just got to focus on that. But it'll go through and it'll help you get the mindset that we had, right? So if you're coming out of rehab, or maybe you're sober for a while, or maybe you're trying to stay sober, I think this will help you. And I think that the two different sides of the upbringing that Terry and I had helps you get a balance, you know, because I come from the land of whack jobs, right? Terry's got more of a stable kind of deal going on. And I think you understand what's going on, where it's like, okay, you know, we could get a little bit of serenity in this stuff here, but it'll really help you understand what's going on. And when you guys do invest in that, it does help the channel here. One of the things we want to do is we want to do this more full time. I want to take more time from my other business to do this. In order to do that, we need lots of people to sign up. And that'll help us with what we're doing here and get you guys more stuff. And also, we're going to have weekly Zoom meetings for visitors or people that have that program. We'll have a weekly Zoom meeting where you can share your stuff and really focus. This way, any thoughts on Alan Carr's book? I'm actually working on a review video for that after I read it. But that is one that I have in my brain database to do a review on.
Robin, 8 days. That's awesome. Good job. And Hiran, 8 months. Excellent. Kyle, 0 days today, but really hard to stop this time. Yeah, it gets harder and harder. That's what I've seen for people, is it just gets harder and harder to stop each time. Just start where you are right now. Get sober. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. So actually, it does. It helps that you have had some sobriety in the past. Maybe you have, not sure, but if you have some tools already, and try to incorporate those. Maybe step it up a little bit. That's what I ended up having to do. And every time I thought I was going to cut back on my sobriety program, I stepped it up. And that's what's allowed me to stay sober so far. You can do it, man.
All right, Timberwolf. Don't know what that means. Got a little mad face, so I'm not sure what you're saying there. Are you mad at me?
I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know. He's got a little smiley. Smileys are sometimes hard to tell what's going on. But, you know. All right. When I subscribed, I only got 19 letters, but they were good. I think we're up to about 22 now, 23. Yeah, so it is a work in progress, and as you're in there, they will be added. They're added automatically, so you don't have to do anything. You just refresh the page. But yeah, it'll really give you some aha moments. What are the ones that stand out to you as like must-read letters?
I think they're all very good. Letter 25, death. So tardigrade. So those last 10 are a little bit out of order, but 25 is done. I think 22 is done. It's those last 10 that we're trying to clean up and finish up right now. 27 will get on there soon, and so will 28 and 29 as well. And we're just trying to we're kind of putting them in places where we think they're going to be appropriate. That's why there's a little bit of mixing around right there on those last 10. But cool. 25 is good. I wish I could tell you one in particular, but they all kind of work off of each other, and they're all really about changing your mindset for sobriety, trying to get that sober mindset, trying to get your mind in a way that you're not so worried about all those outside influences, and you can concentrate on your own sobriety and being okay with yourself and being okay with life, even if life isn't serving you the best plate, you know?
Yeah, just remember, Buddha always said that the essence of suffering is desire, or the root of suffering is desire. I'm desiring something to be different than it was, and that's what's making me not content or discontent or angry or whatever it is. And when we realize that, we're like, all I'm doing is desiring things. So basically, I'm throwing a fit about what I want in so many terms. And when I look at life that way, it starts to change everything, because I'm like, okay, this is just me wanting what I want, and who died and made me the king of what I want. You got to look at it differently. Alone in Another World says, I talked to my friend before about my drinking problem, and I told him this is my secret. Big mistake. I shouldn't have trusted him. He shared it with everyone and hurt me a lot anyway. I'm sober today. Good thing you're sober today. That's good. Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful who you tell things to, as with anything. You don't want to just run into the AA meeting or whatever you're doing and be like, hey, here it is. It reminds me of a guy years ago. We had a Bible study, and it was back when I used to be a preacher, and there was a mixed group. There was like older people, younger people, old ladies, old men, young people, all kinds of people. And he decided it was time to share his deepest, darkest sins with the room. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that's really a good idea. Maybe take someone aside and tell someone you trust, instead of like, here it is, everybody. It reminds me of the scene on Breakfast Club, good 80s movie. And there's this girl who's kind of, eccentric or whatnot. And she takes her purse and dumps it out all over the table to show everyone, hey, look what I got in my purse. Here's my dirty laundry or whatever. And they're like, yeah, you don't need to do that here. Sometimes we get wrapped up in the moment and we think that, we got to share everything. Not necessarily. Write it down. Think about it. Right? It's like Terry always says, the times he sat down to write an email to someone, 9 times out of 10, he didn't send it in the morning. Why? Because you're whipped up into a frenzy and you don't know what you're thinking. And then in the morning, you're like, wow, okay, yeah, I need to hit delete. We're good. So, yeah.
Hey, Al, good to see you too, man. 140 days. Congratulations. And let's see what else. Oh, David talked about anxiety is different for everyone, but the alcohol leads to the same place, same destruction. Somebody else talked about anxiety here. I lost it again. But a lot of our letters, they talk about anxiety and how to deal with it. And those can be helpful as well. And that's, anxiety is a huge trigger to getting to that drink, definitely. Yeah. And for both Marcus and myself, anxiety were issues. They affected us differently. For me, my anxiety came more from drinking and trying to hide the drinking and everything that's involved with that, and trying to, live that normal life where nobody knows I'm drinking. For Marcus, I think it was a little bit different. There's more anxiety. I don't know. He'd have to explain that himself. But yeah, our letters delve into that quite a bit, and you can get a lot more insight there.
Yeah, and I think the key to anxiety is acceptance.
Yeah.
It's there, because the more you fight anxiety, the worse it gets. And that's really the core of how it works. Anxiety is about control. You want to control everything. Like if you were in control of everything, like if you have anxiety at work, if you're the boss, you probably wouldn't have it. Be like, I control everything. I ain't got no anxiety. Anxiety is a lot about what we can't control, or what we can't anticipate, or what we can't expect. And a lot of times it comes from, past abuse or things that happen to us or bad situations. And it's all ingrained. It's all something that we learned. It's not something we're born with. I remember, I think it was Richard Bandler said, you're only born with 2 fears. And by the way, listen to Richard Bandler at your own risk. He is a certified whack job. But at any rate, I think he actually says that about himself. But he does have some good stuff, He said we're only born with 2 fears. One is the fear of falling, and the other is the fear of loud noises. And you look at a baby, like you look at it, like if Terry and I had to speak in front of 10,000 people, we'd probably get nervous, probably get anxious. If you put a baby in front of 10,000 people, he doesn't care. He's like, whatever, I'll just do what I do. So you have to look at that and understand what's going on. And a lot of what we do in the Talk Sober course is teach you about how I went through this stuff and understood anxiety and how I live in the world sober, because I had to learn to live a completely new way. I was not prepared for what life was like sober, because I always was able to go drink. And so now I had to wake up and say, hey, got to learn to live again. Which, by the way, I think the one good country song, since we're on that topic today, was Learning to Live Again It's kind of a lame song, but it's got a good message to it. And it talks about how he had to learn to live again. I think it was without a woman though. Like he had a spouse, and then he had to learn to live again without her. Which it's got some similarities, not the exact same, but you get the point.
Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you what song.
Yeah, I don't think that.
I do put on the music channel, the pop country station here and there, but I only have it on for background noise. I'm kind of one of those people that can't handle the silent house and my little psycho aspect of myself. But hey, Donna said, I have immense difficulty in even telling my secrets to close family. I've been humiliated, shamed in their presence, and they don't seem willing to forgive and move on. So saddening. Well, first of all, you do want to pick your person that you're going to tell deep those secrets to very carefully. And usually family wouldn't be the person. For me, it was a sponsor, person that, knows me in AA. That's it. His main purpose is to help me stay sober, and that's it. And that way he can give objective opinions. And you want to be careful if you're divulging secrets, that you're not going to hurt this person. That's just the wrong way to go about it. We're trying to develop our relationships in life, I think. At least that's what I'm trying to do, develop them in a positive manner. And I think saying things that might hurt somebody is going to do the opposite. Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, it looks like we are about out of time today. If you do want to support the channel, get those letters, and get all the help from Terry and I in the course, go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button here, and you can sign up. Also, if you do want to talk to Terry and I one-on-one through a Zoom call and talk about sobriety or whatever you want to talk about, you can even talk about football, although I probably wouldn't be able to know much about football because I don't know anything about football. But you could talk about other stuff. You could actually click here and get a private call with me and Terry. It's just a one-time deal if you want to just, talk about whatever it is. But definitely get in the sober class. I think it'll really help you understand where our thoughts come from and help get into your mind. Because the idea is if you get this in your mind, the old stuff's going to go away, right? We could fight the old stuff, and that's a pain in the butt, or we could put new stuff in. And this is about putting new stuff in, and that's why we created it. All right. See you guys next week. Thanks for being here. Stay sober. Subscribe. Click the bell. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.